A toast to the national champions. Next. Welcome to the Stan Simpson Show, a program about Connecticut people and compelling issues. Make it a point to drop in every week. Back-to-back national championships. The UConn women's basketball team is once again the toast of the town. They won their 7th national championship last week, going undefeated for 2 consecutive years. WTIC AM radio sportscaster Scott Gray joined us to talk about this remarkable season and whether a three-peat is in the future. In our second segment, we continue our conversations with candidates for governor. Lieutenant Governor Michael Fedele drops in for a visit and talks about his agenda. Then we'll wrap things up with our entertainment attorney, James Walker. He's back. We'll get the lowdown on Erykah Badu's provocative music video and talk about the return of Tiger Woods and his attempt to salvage his image. But first, hail to the champions here with WTIC News Talk today. Scott Gray, you see it on his shirt. So listen, where were you at halftime last few days back when it was 20-12 at halftime, and in Connecticut, the world stopped?
Telling my wife not to worry. I've seen it before. You know, the morning of the game, I was on the air with Ray Dunaway, and he was asking me what I thought. And I reminded him about the game, December 23rd, at the XL Center, when Stanford had a lead at halftime. In the second half...
What year? This is this year?
This year.
Okay.
This season. Last year, but this season.
Right.
And Stanford was in the lead at halftime. Young lady named Maya Moore came out just totally determined that she was going to carry this team on her back to victory. She made one of the classic plays of the season that to me still stands as a signature play of the season to set up a great basket for UConn, put them in the lead, and they went on to win by 12 points. And I said to Dunaway that morning, I would not be at all surprised to see tonight's game play out exactly the same way. And that's exactly what happened. They trailed at the half, and Maya Moore came out of the locker room and just carried them right through a 17-2 run and on their way to victory.
So now what, as far as ranking this team and this accomplishment, the history of great sports accomplishments, where do you rank it?
Well, I would say, obviously, they are the greatest women's college basketball team of all time.
Whoa, this team here, better than the past teams?
Well no, I would...
Sue Bird and Rosati?
I would say the team that has the current 78-game winning streak, because women's basketball in general has gotten better. Everybody complained they're bad for the sport because nobody can compete with them. Well, nobody could compete with them because they were that good. There are some other very, very good teams out there, and we saw a couple of them play against UConn in the latter stages of the tournament. Baylor is a very good team, and they're going to get much better. I mean, you know, with Brittany Griner just a freshman, they're going to get a lot better.
But this team it doesn't seem to me this team is as talented as past UConn teams. They have the 2 All-Americans, Maya Moore, Tina Charles. But outside of that, Scott Gray, a bunch of complimentary players. This team, I've said before, this team on paper, on the court, doesn't really scare anyone. I mean, they play well together.
You asked me where this team stands. And I say, from a team standpoint, the greatest women's college basketball team of all time.
Wow.
But there are differences. They didn't have the talent. You're right. The greatest starting 5 of all time, that's Sue Bird, Swin Cash, Asia Jones, Tamika Williams, Diana Taurasi. Greatest starting 5 of all time.
You're saying team with a T.
With a team with a T. And then as that team carried on after Sue Bird and Swin Cash and Asia Jones and Tamika Williams left, like Gino says, if you don't believe that Diana Taurasi was the greatest team player of all time, you weren't paying attention, because she basically carried that team to a national championship after the others left. And, so there are differences. Diana Taurasi, the greatest player ever to play at UConn. Those 5 players, the greatest starting 5. This is the greatest team.
All right, so now the next benchmark. 88 wins, 78 wins in a row now, right? Next year, you segue to next year, 88.
Right.
Then they tied John Wooden, historic UCLA coach. What's the prospects now without Tina Charles being there next year? what are the prospects of them going for 88, 89 in a row?
Okay, this is going to be very difficult. It's going to be very big, and as Gino said, going into the national championship game, if we get to that juncture of going to the tournament again undefeated, he's going to retire because nobody else is trying hard enough. You know, he would be disappointed in all the other coaches. That's not going to happen. They won't be undefeated going to that juncture. 88 is going to be a problem because I believe it's the second game of the season. They will be facing Baylor again, and they will be facing
down at
no here.
Here, okay.
And they will be facing Brittany Griner again, this time without Tina Charles. I mean, the difference was Griner had 3 inches on Charles. Mm-hmm. Charles had 3 NCAA tournaments and 2 Final Fours on Griner, and that was the big difference. Tina Charles knew what she had to do and did it.
What is her future? Tina Charles, what is her future? We see her now on the screen. What's the future bode?
Well, the beauty of Tina Charles' future is the beauty of our future. We're going to get to continue to watch her play basketball for some time to come. She will be the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, and thanks to a trade that was made during the offseason, the Connecticut Sun has that pick. So they are going to pick Tina Charles, and they aren't trying to fool anybody. They aren't trying to say, well, we might do this or we might do that. Everybody knows exactly where Mike Thibault is going with this pick.
How about overseas with Europe? Some dollars maybe out there for her, possibly?
There might be, but there will be some good dollars for her in the NBA. There will be good WNBA. There will be good security for her in the WNBA. And she will really, really love playing just down the road from her college.
All right, in our backyard. Now let's talk about Gino Auriemma. We talked about where this team ranks in history. Where does this coach now? When you talk about this coach pound for pound, he's got to be up there among the best coaches anywhere at any time in any sport. Your thoughts?
Well, I'll say the best. I mean, obviously, there's Pat Summitt. Nobody in men's or women's college basketball has won more games than her, and she has 8 national championships. Obviously, she came in and put them together when there were already some established teams out there that she had to deal with. Old Dominion was established at the time, and USC and Louisiana Tech.
So why do you rank him over her?
I rank him over her because he had to do it up against her. And he has just established UConn as the flagship of all of women's college basketball.
Does this state underrate UConn women's basketball? They returned last week came back to a hero's welcome, so to speak. But some would argue that if the men won the championship, there'd be more fervor, more intensity. Your thoughts on that? Is there the same intensity for what women have done if the men had done this?
Well, the big difference is the women have almost made it passé. They do it a lot. I mean, the men haven't done it since 2004. And in the last 10 years, that's the only time they've done it. 11 years ago, they won a national championship. So it's a rarer thing for the men. And, of course, the men on a national level get much greater exposure, so there's more excitement generated nationally by the men. There would probably be a bigger rally if the men had done it. But I think people around here may take the women's team a little bit for granted, but I think they appreciate them. 15
seconds, real quick. Gino Auriemma will be coaching the Olympic team, right? He has now 78 wins in a row.
Right.
To what degree now is there even more pressure to continue this? It's almost a foregone conclusion. Of course he'll win this thing, the gold medal, but how much pressure is on now to carry it over in about 30 seconds?
Well, it all is now about balancing his entire life, balancing the Olympic team, balancing his personal life, balancing coaching the UConn Huskies. We're going to see Gino Auriemma, the time manager. I think he's capable of handling everything, handling it all successfully, and I don't expect any burnout. And let's not forget Jen Rosati at the University of Hartford, now the head coach of the U.S. National Under-18 team for the America's competition in Colorado.
We got to get her on the show, it sounds like.
Ought to get her on the show, absolutely.
Make her a regular, too, just like you.
There you go.
Add to the payroll here, right? Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing at you, Stan.
The payroll part?
The payroll part.
When we come back, Lieutenant Governor Michael Fedeli told us why he wants you to give him a promotion. You are watching the Stan Simpson Show in full HD.